Alright, thanks for watching Dave's 700R4 build-up. I'm just showing you here basically the bushing goes in first on top of the piston. You lubricate it and then we're going to stick it in. You want to make sure that the opening was facing upwards, the same way that you basically took it out. We'll start putting the gear in, and then as you'll see here, you've got another bushing that goes in there. It's called like a needle bearing. It's a flat spacer washer that's got needle bearings in it. You want to lubricate them real good, and then you want to put that one in. As you see here, I'm going to go ahead and start putting in the next pieces, but you got to put the tail shaft in. Make sure that you lubricate the tail shaft when you put it in. I also, even though we put new rear bushings in the case, I'm checking the bushing against the shaft itself. You want to make sure that nothing's dragging on it and nothing has any kind of hang-ups or burrs or anything like that. So it's always good just to check it. Once I got it in there, I started putting in the next gear. I started changing or checking the actual in-play in those gears to make sure that they're not oval-shaped or egg-shaped when you spin them. It's more of a side-to-side type of check. Start going in with your first steel, and I'm putting that in. Then I'm going to go to the next steel. You always make sure you compare these to the old ones that you took out. I always keep them in order as well, and that just makes it a lot easier. As you can see, I start going to dropping the clutch there, and those are my old stack in the same way, and then basically I'll just take the next clutch and put that one in. Now I am lubricating them on the side there, you can't see it, but I'm going to the steel next. I'll lubricate that steel, and then after I lubricate that steel, I stick it in. Now you notice I already put it on the floor, so that's how it goes. It's gonna be I should have probably speeded this up a little bit, but you get the gist of it. It's not basically rocket science. You put your clutch on the floor, and then you're basically gonna put your clutch in there after you've lubricated it. So you got another steel. I'm going to the next steel. As you can see, my dad's there. He's basically sticking them in and lubricating them as I pull them back up. So that's all he's doing. Not nothing special. But put another clutch down. I probably should have counted these for you, but you'll basically figure out. Like I said, if you keep all these in order, you're not going to have a problem with it. It's when you get everything out of order. So what I always do is I make sure that I don't get anything out of order. So here comes the steel. But when you're laying this transmission out, you want to make sure that you basically have laid it out in order. I pull them out and put them face down, so that way when I pick them up, I put them back in face down, flipping them over. But you do it your way to keep yourself straightened out. It's up to you, but I can tell you right now, if you don't stay the same way through the whole transmission, you have somebody else basically helping you out, you're going to be in some serious trouble. You don't want one person laying them down one way and have another person the other way. Now this gear here, the facial plate that goes over the top, I'm basically cleaning that down with carb cleaner and everything, and then I'll blow it out with air. Now how you guys clean your parts is your business, but I can tell you right now, I found carb cleaner to work the best. It kind of really removes those metal particles and everything. But you know, I can go through 40 to 50 cans of carb cleaner, you know, and it can get expensive, but I don't rebuild transmissions cheap neither, and they're not cheap to rebuild, and you want to make sure that they're 100%, they're clean, and if you don't, you can get in some serious trouble. So once you get that top plate in there, I think that's what we're doing here, is we're putting this piece in here. You want to make sure that that sprag in there goes one way and it won't go back the other way. If it goes back the other way and don't lock up, you've got a problem with it. So we're putting it in, and then we're putting that side piece. There's a side clip that goes down in there, and we're pushing it down. You're seeing here that we're doing it, but it could require two people to put it in. I put it in myself, but I've always pretty much had a helper. Okay, so we put the snap ring in, and we got the side retainer clip in. And after we got that in there and made sure it was between the two tangs, we went ahead and we started with the next gears. And as you see right behind me, you got that drum, and then you basically got a plastic piece that goes on top of that. So we put that in there. I went ahead and took that back out, the tail shaft, and we started looking at the next gear that goes in right there in my hand. You can see what we're doing is we're making sure that those bushings, are not too loose on that shaft. The shaft doesn't have too much wear. However, when I started looking at that first gear you got on the bottom, and I started looking at the top gear, I decided that most of the bushings in this transmission were pretty much burned up or wore out. Basically everything that was in this thing was just totally wore out. So we went ahead and took this first gear and replaced both of those bushings. We started on that one, and we just kind of kept building it up as we went along. We wasn't gonna, we kind of didn't do all the bushings at one time. We kind of did them in a sequence of as we were building it up. As you'll see here, that first gear that I have in my hand is what goes in first with a drum that's sitting right behind my head. It's sitting on the table back there, but we wanted to make sure that we got everything in there first before we kept building it up. Now, like I said, I'm just checking this out. The top bushings in this new piece that we got here that is in that gear, you can see there's two bushings in there, but that's removable. You can take that one out. So we had two there. We had two in the actual, I'm not sure if that's the planetary gear, sun gear. And I don't think it's the sun gear. I think it's a planetary gear. But when I took that gear out, there's another two bushings that were in there. We just decided that the whole thing needed new bushings. We had a bushing kit that we bought, and we basically started putting them in. You can see my other videos where I did that. Here we're just taking back out the actual shaft, and what you can do is you can put the casing on top of the shaft, so that way you can lean it up against a table or whatever, but we wanted the shaft left in there ready to go. So I'm just sliding it down and putting that in there. Then I turned it around, and what I started doing was we got the first two gears in, so I put that first piece, that first gear in, and then I put this sun shell in there, and then there you have that brass bushing that goes in. Went ahead and put that in there. So we got that all done. I just kind of put it over to the side because I needed to go after those new gears that go on the top pieces. You'll see we start putting in. And that's that for right now. Alright, now put your next gear in, and then after that you're going to put your small thrust washer in on top. You're going to put your next gear in, and then after that you're going to go for your snap ring. As you'll see, I'm reaching back here and grabbing that and putting that in. Then I put the next gear in after we replaced all the bushings. So once you get that all in there, you're pretty much good to go. Now, I always make sure that I lubricate everything at this point. I just dump some in. Not really doing anything miraculous, but I'm making sure everything's nice and slippery.